Hi, I'm Tyra Butler, and I wanted to backtrack a little bit to the end of my last video and just touch real quick on, I know that it ended right when I was talking about the benefits of private practice and my clinical skills. So, just to wrap up the last part of my story here, as an overview, I wanted to also touch a little bit on the business aspect. So when I talk about starting and growing a private practice while you're pre-licensed, and I'm talking about the business. In California, we have to be employed, so we cannot branch out and start our own business, but what we can do is find a supervisor who will employ us and be under the auspices of their business and get paid as an employee. So I know that's true for a lot of other states in the US, and in some states there is an exception, and as long as you are provisionally licensed and registered, you can do private practice as your own business. And there are even some states that you can get on insurance panels. But for most states, including California, we have to operate under the auspices of an employer, which is actually a blessing in a lot of ways. And we also have the opportunity to start our effective effective marketing. So even though we are not running our own business, we can learn about the business aspects as well as the administrative side of things. And we can start to take on some of that, mainly being the effective marketing and handling of the fees and the cash and scheduling and all of that. But we have to figure out how to generate a lot of referrals, because a lot of clients, if they do have insurance, if they're going to see us as a pre-licensed therapist, I'm licensed now, but when I was pre-licensed, they would use their out-of-network benefits. And so we'll get into that, but there's some things that you need to know specifically being a pre-licensed therapist and how to go about doing that while you're in private practice, or even being in a group practice. So in a group practice, they will most likely give you referrals, and they get a percentage of what you make as a result. Just like if you're in private practice, your supervisor will get a percentage of that too. So all that to say that there are benefits on the business side of things in being in private practice while you're pre-licensed, because you get to learn all of that, and then you get to start being prepared and ready to start to handle all of that by the time you're licensed. Something I would like for you to think about is, if you were, say you were given some news that maybe you only had 6 months left to live, would you want to be doing what you're doing where you're at right now, working with the people that you are in the dynamic or situation that you're in? Because if you say absolutely no, or there's hesitancy there, I want you to think about why. Because with each day that we spend, we have a finite amount of time here, and I feel like no one needs to stay stuck where they're at. I mean, sometimes we put up with certain situations or people in our lives to get through a phase, earn hours, make a certain amount of money. But what I'm telling you here is that being in private practice, like if I look back on the times when maybe midway through or something, and it's still a struggle, because you're learning and you're dealing with difficult issues in people's lives, and it's quite an honor and it's really rewarding, but there's that struggle, of course. Anytime you're growing or learning, there's going to be a struggle within that to some extent. But even in all of that, or I was working, on my feet at an eating disorder clinic for, 6 hours on end or whatever, looking back, I would not change that, because those were times that were so valuable, and I was contributing to people's lives in beneficial ways, and I was growing myself. I was in service, this like feeling of always being in service of other people. However, whatever level, of benefit that you are in their life, like you are making a positive impact in their life. And so I wouldn't have traded that at all. And I had a good balance in my time where I had control over my schedule to, pretty much a good extent. And I didn't have to feel burnt out or overworked. And I was contributing to supporting my family. I had time at home with my family and time to, take care of myself and do the things that I needed to be my best. And so I wouldn't have traded that. And so that I would like for you to have that same experience in your life. And even if you can't quite make that happen 100%, to make some modifications or transitions to where maybe you can feel more of that way. Because honestly, I can even say right now that in this moment for myself, as I'm recording this to you, for you, that I wouldn't trade that either, because I feel like this is going to help you. It can help someone get more out of where they're at in their life right now, in their career. And I think that more people need to hear about this, because a lot of people put off doing something like this because it feels daunting or overwhelming and they just don't want to deal with it. But I want to let you know that it is completely doable, and that in order to grow into the therapist that you want to become, the kind of experience that you want being a therapist, being in private practice really allows you that opportunity to grow in those ways and have that kind of foundation to launch from, once you're licensed. So it's really a fertile ground for a lot of growth in getting out of toxic situations or unhealthy environments. Can be cutting the ties to those things can be really healthy. And you have to be savvy and have a lot of factors that you consider before you go making some, rash decision. But I just want you to be able to, reflect, and when you wake up tomorrow morning, ask yourself, is this what I want to be doing with my life right now? Or is there maybe something better? And I think that life is so short and we have a limited amount of time here. And so it's so important to know that what we're doing is what we feel good about and we feel like we're meant to be doing, even if we're struggling and it's difficult. But at the end of the day, we feel like that's what I was meant to be doing. I'm learning, I'm growing, and this is taking me on a path to where I want to be. So anyways, there'll be more about that. So please stay with me as we continue and talk about the key elements to starting and growing your practice, as well as being a therapist. So thank you for joining me.